Hello, Marah and Bryce. Tell people out there about your documentary, Space Cowboy.
Yeah, Space Cowboy is a feature documentary on the skydiver Joe Jennings, and more specifically, the skydiving cameraman or freefall cinematographer, as he's known. He is one of the pioneers of uh, commercial, like filming commercial stunts in skydiving. So he is one of the few guys that is behind some of the Hollywood skydiving scenes in movies and big brand commercials and the X Games and all of these things. So it's a documentary on his life and career.
Okay, yes. And how did you learn about Joe Jennings?
I met him by happenstance,
Oh,
um, and I wasn't connected to the skydiving community. He's a very big deal in the skydiving community, but not maybe to the general public because of what I was just saying. He's behind the camera, so you see some of these, iconic and mind blowing images in pop culture, um, but you don't know who's behind him necessarily. So that was, I met him by happenstance, and I actually needed, kind of someone to help me bring this vision to life. So I found Marah, who was a little more connected to the skydiving community and had heard of Joe and had a little connection to Joe, which I'll let her talk about.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'd also been a filmmaker for about 15 years. So I think, Bryce said this was his first film. So I think together, he had amazing access to Joe, and I've made a few other documentaries, one being a film about the husband and wife couple behind the beginning of base jumping. And so it made a lot of sense. I also have a background in editing, and this was an incredibly largely archival film. And, it just made a lot of sense that our skill sets would work very well together on this film.
nice. And so tell me some of the movies he worked on, and tell me, do you have a favorite?
Say that one more time.
Tell me about the movies he worked on. List off some titles, and please tell me your favorite title.
The movies he worked on that he's been in Air Force One, um, Triple X, Charlie's Angels, the Point Break remake, San Andreas with The Rock, Dawn with in India, and a lot more, Baywatch. So a lot of iconic moments. My personal favorite is probably Triple X, because that was when I was a that was the one that connected me most with Joe, because when I was a kid I loved that movie, and I loved the scene of Vin Diesel jumping out of an airplane with a snowboard and landing on the mountain, and going from skydiving to snowboarding. And when I was like, oh my God, that Joe was the guy that filmed that, I was just blown. I just thought it was the coolest thing. I don't know. What's your favorite of his films, Mara?
Oh, I don't know. It's funny. I'm probably not the audience for most of his movies, but I do, or the movies that have big stunts in them. But I think what's incredible is just the precision and technical ability that it took to do these stunts. And I think, Joe as an artist is really what I'm interested in. Like, I like Joe's films, I like the things that he's done. Like there's a film he made, Good Stuff, which we reference in our film. I think that that's my favorite of his films, is his film that he actually made.
I I really enjoyed how it's not, just this wacky cool guy who's done some interesting things over the years, but the stuff on his personal life, which is a little bit more let's just say tumultuous. So tell me a little bit about finding that balance in the documentary.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, I think that obviously you want to make a documentary that's visually stunning and fun and all of these things you want a skydiving film to be. I've always said that this film is almost like, a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down, in terms of like his his personal life. He suffered from depression and anxiety and ADHD, and grief, and there's a lot of things that go into being a human being that a lot of us can relate to. And I think it was very important for us to create a film that not just skydivers or not just people, who like fast and crazy films could relate to. It was really important to us to tell a human story. And I think, to Bryce's credit and to Joe's credit, this was, it was really important from the beginning that it tells Joe's internal journey through these things like depression and grief.
And to kind of piggyback on that, it's been really that 100% is how Mar and I approached the film, wanting to kind of merge the nuance of the sport and the art with the personal journey. And it's been really satisfying to see that we have, I think, struck a chord with that. I mean, we were just in Arkansas last week with a crowd of 60, 70-year-old retirees from the South who have nothing to do with skydiving, and they absolutely love the film. And then the last couple nights, Mar and I have been in Newport Beach with a much younger crowd that's half filled with skydivers and extreme sports lovers, and they love the film. So I think we're lucky enough to at least see some of our vision pay off in merging the two things that you're talking about.
Oh, that's great. What's the nicest thing you've been told?
Um,
Nicest.
Not in your life, about the documentary.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I would say that maybe not what I've been told. I have been told a lot of. We've been getting a lot of praise and congratulations, which obviously we are not immune to as filmmakers. It's definitely gratifying to have people like your work. But the thing that to me has been the coolest is Joe Jennings, the skydiver, has been coming with us to a lot of these screenings. And there's complete strangers after the showings lining up to talk to Joe about and share with Joe like their personal experiences with grief and loss and depression, and saying how much the film resonated with them. So to watch that is better than any compliment you can give, because that's just as authentic and real as it gets, which has been incredible.
I would
Nice.
agree with that. Yeah, no, it's absolutely that. But I would also say, just in watching the film and seeing people experience pure joy watching the aerial sequences, or, I mean, a lot of people when they're walking out of the screening, they're crying and they're cheering, which is like, that's like a visceral responsive film, which to me is, really, really what you want as a filmmaker.
Nice. And who does what when co-directing? And how do you describe your professional relationship?
You're actually the first person that's asked us that like that. That's
Which
an
is
interesting.
weird.
Yeah,
Oh.
it is an interesting question. I think Mara and I often describe ourselves as being very different people, but also the same, which is an interesting, I guess, thing. But I would say that Mara and I, one, we just have a mutual respect and trust and liking of each other that helps us kind of ground our professional relationship. And as far as the creative piece, I think we have very different strengths. So because we have that trust, instead of fighting with those strengths, we're able to kind of lift each other up. It's like I come from the sports world, and the best teams are where people's individual strengths are covering up their teammates' weaknesses. So a lot of the inexperience that I have in certain areas, Mara's absolutely just crushed and been like the driving force to mask that for me. And I think I've brought a lot of energy and boost from my end. So she can kind of maybe talk about technically how we worked, but I think just as people, we just have a nice dynamic. We're not we bring different things to the table, and it makes us stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Bryce's experience in the sports world has been really wonderful, because I think a lot of first-time filmmakers, And I say this a lot when people talk about, like directing the film. I think a lot of first-time filmmakers don't know what they don't know. And I think what's been really lovely is that, I think for both of us, we want to make the best film possible. So I think we're always thinking about how to do that over our own egos or our own, we really, I think both, I come strangely from the glass blowing world, which is also a team situation. And I think we really know how to work as a team in a good and positive way that, it's been a really good experience for me. I did not think I could co-direct with somebody, but Bryce is the perfect choice for co-directing, and that really worked out quite well.
That's great. I once interviewed some co-directors on a documentary, and I said, "Oh, would you work together again?" And they said, "I don't think so." So,
Bryce and I would. We try to think of projects we try to think of projects that are perfect for us to work together on. I mean, we would definitely, I think I'm speaking for Bryce, but I think, we really complemented each other well.
Lovely.
No,
And,
yeah, you'll
oh,
see us again at some point. I have a strong feeling you'll see our names side by side again.
I love it. So I learned about this film because it played at TIFF. So you mentioned some other screenings that this played. But can you tell me about your TIFF experience?
Oh, it was amazing. It was, one of, if not the top choice of where we had hoped to world premiere. And um their team led by Tom Powers took care of us and supported the film, and then just the film environment there was, it was awesome. I don't think we could have asked for a better experience for our world premiere. And it was pretty cool because Marah has a kind of a deep history with her career there, and this was kind of like a full circle. What year were you there, Marah, first?
I was there with my first film, Sunshine Superman, in 2014.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was exactly 10 years
Yeah.
that I came back. And Tom Powers has been, I was describing him to somebody as being, the person that really kind of launched me as a filmmaker. And TIFF
Wow.
is being, the festival that really launched me as a filmmaker. So I have a lot of gratitude and just love for TIFF. And I think the films that play there, it's just such a good variety of, super serious films and films that are fun. And, I think Tom's a really amazing curator of documentaries.
All right. Let's say you both of you run a rep house, art house movie theater, and you're doing a double bill with Space Cowboy. It's gonna be in the documentary though. What's gonna be paired with Space Cowboy?
Wow, that's another. You're hitting some good.
Yeah,
Quite.
Thanks. I have my
Yeah,
moments
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's like it's like refreshing to get when you're doing these interviews, it's refreshing to get a question you haven't got, but it's also like, I hadn't thought about that. It takes me a second,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think both for continuity and because I'm biased, maybe we put uh Mara's film Sunshine Superman there, and we celebrate a couple of great champions in the aerial world, and also an incredible filmmaker in Marah. Sounds like a pretty good billing to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I of course would love that. But I also, I also think of films that, I came up with, which, I'm a big Werner Herzog fan, and I'm a big, I loved Riding Giants, or some of these films that, or Dogtown and Z Boys, like there's films that were kind of early docs that I think this film echoes some of those just because they really influenced me. And
Yeah,
I say that could be something too.
All right,
yeah,
great. Well,
that's great.
sorry. Do you want to
No,
say
no,
something?
no, no. I was just saying I was agreeing with her. Like, that's great.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad some of these questions stood out. I know you've probably heard one of your influences maybe too many times from my fellow journalists, but any final thoughts before you'd like to before we end this interview?
Um, just just that we appreciate you having us on and the great questions. And we hope anybody out there listening will figure out a way to watch the film, figure out a way to support the film. And I hope it resonates with anybody that's able to watch it. We're very proud of it. So thank you to everybody that's supporting us and supporting the film.
And I would just echo that. And I would say, we're going to be playing at Doc NYC. We've got, a lot of different festivals coming up, and, support, and just, people who watch the film and like it, just talking about it. I mean, I think it's really hard to have independent films that, it's like a word of mouth thing a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
So, as much as you can talk about it, it's really, really helpful to us and really helpful to a film that was made with a very good spirit and, deserves to have a wonderful life after TIFF into the world.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you,
Thank you
Michael.
so much. Good to meet you.
Likewise. Bye.